in this computer. Yeah, that's it. So one person goes out of the room, the others decide on some kind of weird affliction that they've got, and the psychiatrist has to come back in and diagnose what it is. So Josie, you're the psychiatrist.
Oh my God.
I'm going to send you away into the waiting room while we decide what we're going to do. Right, she's gone. So this is a game I've played in the past, but it's also in this book called Drama Games for Classrooms and Workshops by Jessica Swale, which is quite a best-selling book, and it's got some great games in it. So for example, you could have a phobia of something. So I think we want to make it not too difficult the first time we play it. Let me see. How about we all have a particular job. So we are all dentists, okay? We're all dentists, and we love our job. We love our job. That's it. All right. So she's got to work out what's wrong with us. We love it a bit too much. So I'm going to admit her back in, and we'll see. So everyone can put their mics on if they want. And then Josie, please come into the surgery, because we all need your help. You can ask particular people what anything you like. Ask them their name, or how they feel.
Yeah. I know, and I'm going to ask a different question.
Okay.
So I'll start with you, David. Since you picked on me, I'll pick on you.
Go for it.
Okay, so what did you have for breakfast this morning, David?
Oh, well, I had a delicious apple. It was really shiny and crisp. I bit through it, and it was just really gave me that sparkly feeling, Oh, I feel so much better after eating that apple.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. So do I ask the same question of somebody else?
You can ask a different question of someone else, or you can ask the same
one. I'm going to ask the same one. Okay, Linda, you're next. Hi, Linda.
Hello. What a beautiful smile you have this morning.
Thank you. I do my best. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Well, ironically, I also had a piece of crunchy fruit. I just love the sensation of being able to bite into something and just, it just makes me feel so. But then I go right to the bathroom and brush my teeth, because I don't want there to be any plaque buildup or anything in my teeth. That's so unseemly.
I see. Okay, well, thank you so much for that information.
My pleasure. Keep that smile.
You've got a lovely smile too.
Oh, thank you. I've worked so hard on it, Flossing, brushing, regular dental visits. It's a work in progress.
Don't give too much away.
Any guesses so far?
Smiley, what's it called? Disorder.
Well, it's in the right ballpark, but it's not quite there yet. So maybe think of a different kind of question for somebody else.
Yes, okay. So, Jan, hi.
Yes.
How did your exam go, Jan?
Sorry. There was a pause.
How did your exam go?
Oh, I survived.
Yeah, you should answer in character with the particular affliction, if you can.
Affliction, that's the word.
Yes, affliction.
What was your affliction? Yeah, I can't ask that. So, so how did your exam go?
I think it went quite well, and it took me 35 minutes to finish, but I waited there for 3 hours to enter the exam room. And the lucky thing is that finally it's done, it's over, and I don't have to think about it. And as David said that, I just came back to my normal life.
Okay.
Now, Jan, what I want you to do is to think about the affliction that we all have and pretend that Josie is not asking you about your exam, but
Exactly.
about an exam that the person you are pretending to be has taken.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't get it. So yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. So it was hard. It was hard because I was the only person in the room and I got 10 people to check. So it took me like half day, I think. And while I was doing that, the examiners were just standing behind me. So I was so nervous. I was worried that if I made any mistakes and the person would shout at me.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
good.
completely lost.
Try a completely random question, not linked to a person, but just a random question of anyone.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's probably better. Okay, Sarah. What can I ask you? What are you going to do today then?
Well, I did not start my morning with such a sugary breakfast because I really think that plaque, it's a big problem. So I make sure that I have lots of vegetables like carrots, which are very good. And today I have a long list of appointments, and it's very important to me to be on time and to not let anyone down. So I really need to keep that schedule organized. It's a very busy day, people coming and going and coming and going all day long, and I want to make sure that they are just really well cared for and that they leave with just that gorgeous smile that they're hoping for.
Okay. Well, I think it's the happy affliction or something like that. Or happy, healthy affliction.
Well, I'm gonna let you know what it is because it's the first round of the game and it's the hardest round to play. So we were all dentists.
Oh, okay.
So you were. I think
was wondering about the plaque.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you had known that we could all have the same job, then you probably would have guessed it. You were, you were thinking more of the affliction allied to that.
Yeah.
So I think you were pretty much there anyway.
Well, it's funny because Linda and I felt like we were being really obvious.
Yeah.
We were, but I couldn't think what of, I mean, it's all about healthy and apples and stuff. I didn't think of the job, but you did say that it could be the job. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's try another one. Who would like to be the psychiatrist? Anyone brave enough?
Okay.
I'm going to pick on Ola if she's there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
If she's not frozen, I'm going to send you into the waiting room, and then you're going to come back and diagnose us. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for being my volunteer. Right. Let's see.
Appointed volunteer.
Right. Forced volunteer.
Yeah.
So, anybody got an idea of something we could do? For example, I'll give you an example and tell me what you think.
We could be chocoholics.
Okay.
If we're obsessed with chocolate. I don't know.
That's like the opposite.
That's the first idea that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try that.
I think if everybody in COVID right now is obsessed with chocolate because they have nothing else to entertain themselves with.
Okay. Yeah, let's just try that. I'll bring her back.
Oh, that's funny. Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hurry up, please? Because I need to go and do something.
Okay. So, David, what's your greatest wish?
Well, my greatest wish is to have the biggest bar that I can find, and just kind of eat my way through it, really. In fact, there's one waiting for me in the fridge at the moment. I've got to go and I'm sorry. I'll see you later.
Linda, what's your favorite TV show?
The Great British Bake Off.
Mm.
Right. Oh. Is there a particular week that you like the best?
Mm. Mm. The week that they dip and they roll and they melt and they fondue.
Are you all chocoholics?
Yeah.
Oh my, you're so clever. Oh well.
Well, I think the first one was quite a hard one. So that was
Oh,
a
yeah,
great.
But
Either
I
way,
thought
I'll
you
go
and
for
Linda
thank
did a
you.
great job. That was really nicely
Great.
done. I liked the actions, Linda. That was great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved your.
Okay, let's play another one. Linda, could you be the
Oh,
psycho?
all right.
The psycho. Right, I'm going to put you in the waiting room. Right, I've got an idea just for something completely different. We are all cats.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Oh, that's a hard
We
one.
either are cats or we all think. Let's say we all think we are cats. That's
Oh,
more of
that
an
Okay.
affliction. Yeah.
Great,
That makes
yes.
sense. Okay.
Get our password.
Everybody's looking there.
Oh, you're muted, Linda. You're very muted.
How about now?
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Oh, you're cats.
Yeah, basically, yes. All right, that was
Think
too
we're
easy.
cats. We just think we're cats, though.
What?
We just think we're cats.
Yeah, we think, which is pretty much the same thing.
This was this. Like it's like.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, we did.
what are they
We
all
kind
about?
of went for it this time.
I gotta tell you, the meowing really
Right,
helps.
I'm going to be the psychiatrist this time, so that you
Okay.
can get your own back on me. And I'm not sure if I can send myself into the waiting room. I don't think I can. So what
Maybe
I'll
you can
do,
send all of us.
oh, I can send you all. I can put you all in a breakout group. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, let's just find that breakout group thingammy jobby. There it is. Right, so go. Open all rooms. You're all coming back. You need to unmute yourselves. Right. Welcome to the surgery. And let me see. So, Ola, where are you going today?
Well, I'm going to find spoons.
Spoons. Going to find spoons.
I like spoons so much.
I see. Right.
Spoon.
And what about Jan? What? Let me see. What are you going to have for lunch today?
Oh, so I will be quite busy today. So I would just grab a piece of bread or something like a very quick lunch because I only get 10 minutes to finish it.
Oh, okay. And Josie, do you have any hobbies?
Yes, I've got a lovely hobby. And I don't know if I'm very good at it, but I'm going to try.
I see. I see. Well, I think you might have a singing hobby. Josie, are you from a particular place?
No, not
No?
really.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Anywhere.
And Sarah, if you could go on holiday, where would you go? Oh.
I think I would go to New York, and I'd probably go somewhere where I could move around and show off my moves, because I have the best moves and they're so wonderful.
Okay. Linda, don't careful. Please be careful. How many balls can you juggle?
Oh, I'm so glad that you asked me that, because when I started out, I just could just two, right? One in each hand. But for you and for all of the other people gathered here, I'm up to 6 balls. I'm so proud of myself, because I think that, when the spotlight hits me and I start doing my thing, it's just like,
All right. Thank you, Linda. That's plenty of information. I'm going to come back to Ola now. And yeah, I'm going to ask you, Ola, what exactly are you going to do with that spoon?
I'm going to bend it.
I see. Yeah, I thought you might be doing that because you all have special talents. That's for sure. I'm not quite sure about Jan. Do you have any special trick or talent that you can do?
Yeah, I can do like quick scratch, like to draw a picture quickly in 10 seconds, something like that.
Okay. So you are either all children's TV presenters, circus acts, or superheroes. Or maybe a combination of all of them.
We cast you in a role.
What was that again?
We cast you in a role.
Oh, did you? Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You're the guy adjudicating the talent show.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I kind of, yeah. There was something about it that at one point made me think of that. It made me think of a TV talent show. Yeah.
That was our hope.
Yeah. Oh, it's a hard game, isn't it? It's quite hard.
Yeah.
When you try to guess, it's much harder than you think. Yeah. Even when you try to make it obvious for the person who's guessing.
Yes. I was the one who said it should be mean.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you did that, because it was really varied, and I had to think what was joining you all together somehow.
Yeah.
Josie, while you were out of the room, I mentioned that this game is in this book. I don't know if you know that book.
No, I don't know.
It's quite a popular one in the UK.
Okay.
Jessica Swale is a theatre director. She does stuff at the Globe and other places. and has
How
her
do you
own
spell her last name?
Swale.
Okay,
Swale.
there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, she has her own theatre company and she writes plays as well. But she's so this is a collection of sorry, of games that she plays with actors for warm-ups and so on. But
Okay.
they're all really good fun.
Okay, looks good.
Quite a few of them, it has to be said, have similarities to ones in my own book. But then again, I did steal virtually every game that's in my book from other people. So in my first book. Right. So any sort of any questions about the Psychiatrist game or any comments on whether you think you could use it?
No, it was really fun. I'm kind of wrapping up, as I said, with my grade 8s. I only have a few more classes. And so we've been kind of doing games so we did a murder mystery game this week where we took 2 classes and they became characters in a village and we had to solve a murder mystery. And that was really fun, but I'm definitely going to play this with them. They will love it.
Yeah.
In my experience, it can go on for a long time, you know.
Well, I was thinking that I might even have like 2 detectives or maybe 3, just so they could kind of help each other out.
Yeah.
I have 22 students, so I thought it might be it's a bit easier in a smaller group, I think. In a bigger group it might be harder.
I think it's a good idea.
And
can you think of any? Sorry, Linda, go on. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, if I was using this with younger kids, I think for the first round or 2, I would give them a category.
Yeah.
Right. So that like they have an occupation in common or something, just to kind of give them the confidence, because that the first round was tough.
Yeah.
I had no idea what you were going on about.
Yeah.
I could see the health bit, but I couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
But you're right. If you gave them a category like a profession or an animal or a type of TV show or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
Do that.
And if you were doing a story with them, for example, then everybody could be characters from that story. You know, something that they have in common. And that would work really well.
I think having 2 as a psychiatrist is a really good idea. Gav often has the problem that if you have my husband, if you have like a large group of kids, sometimes they disappear. They, you know, if you turn them off put them in a room, or you say you put them in the waiting room, they disappear. They just don't come back, which is
right.
Yeah, so don't quite know what you think about that.
So is there an alternative to putting people in waiting rooms?
I'm not sure. What do we think? Mute them.
Yeah, mute them, I guess. Yeah.
You can still hear it, can't they?
Yeah, they can hear everything though.
They would still hear it.
Yeah.
You'd have to trust them to switch their volume off, which is a bit harder to know at the start, isn't it?
Yeah. You could in the chat just send it to certain people what the topic was or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
That might be a bit time consuming if you have 22. Yeah. You've got to message them individually.
Yeah.
Well, I teach all of my classes on Teams, so it's easy because the chat, it groups them into a little group, so I can just delete people from the group as I'm changing who's involved and who's not. So I could do it that way.
Cool.
That makes sense.
No, this is in Microsoft Teams.
Oh, Microsoft Teams,
yeah. We have to use it. We have to use that because we have students in China and they're not allowed to access Google. So
Well, that makes sense because I think Microsoft Teams is more set up for that kind of thing and for interaction and sharing screens and so forth. But okay, great. So now Linda said that she was going to share something with us today. So I'm going to hand over to her and hear what she's got to tell us about.
Thank you. It's actually a question. I'm looking for input.
Yeah.
I've submitted a proposal to be part of a teacher art conference at the end of August. And one of the topics that I offered was how to support teachers in building online drama games and things that that they can use. And I've certainly benefited from all of our conversations in that realm. So if there's anything else that you would add, games that you have used that have really worked online that we haven't talked about previously here in this environment, I would be very welcoming of that. And second to that is, I'm not sure how many of you are employed as arts educators on a full-time basis. I'm an independent and I'm contract. So I'm always looking for ways to approach boards of education and teachers and get my name out, and do arts education, not as a staff person. And so if you have any insights on how to build that for next September, I would be very grateful for that kind of input as well.
Yeah. Well, I did a great unit with my grade 5s with oral storytelling. So we really worked on voice, developing a character for your voice, incorporating gestures to enrich the story. And we did that online and it worked really well. You know, I got the idea from actually a person who came into our school as a contractor when I was doing my practicum. So she actually had this unit where she would come in once a week and work on oral storytelling with the kids. I can tell you the title of the book that I bought a copy of it and I really like it, but it goes into like how to work on tempo, how to work on emphasis of words. And there's like exercises of how changing the emphasis from one word to another can change the whole meaning of the sentence. And the grade 5s loved it, but it's a unit that you could use, I think, any grade from grade 2 to grade 12. You just choose more complicated stories for them to learn. But I found it worked really well online. And I used, I've forgotten her name, sorry, she was here too, not last month, but the month before, and she shared her YouTube channel where she did the stories with the green screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I shared her videos with my students and they used a green screen behind their stories and they loved it. They thought it was really fun. So they had their own fancy set. I don't remember her name, but I can share the...
Yeah, no, I know. She did the Gruffalo, yeah? You mean the
Yes.
Gruffalo?
Yeah. Yes, I'll just find out her name for you.
Right.
That's how awful.
It was.
And the unit that you used, do you remember the name of the book?
The name of the book, I'm just gonna dig into my Google Drive here
Amanda.
and see if I can find it. Amanda, yeah.
Amanda Dibble.
Sorry. Yes. I don't know how I could have forgotten that name.
I know.
Well, that sounds really great, and I think the idea of having a project as a theme is really, as a focus, is really good. You know,
and Linda, the nice thing with that unit also is that if your school is looking for more ties to Indigenous cultures, I also did in grade 4 a similar unit, but instead of using stories that were already published, I had them write stories in the Indigenous tradition. So what they were doing was taking natural phenomena and writing a story to explain that. So how were rainbows created? Why do beavers have flat tails? And they created original stories to explain anything they wanted.
Yeah.
So because in Canada, we're looking for a lot of ties into Indigenous cultures in the curriculum right now. So if that's, anyway, I'm looking for the book here.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Tell us the book when you find it. That sounds interesting.
And I would, Sarah, maybe I can contact you offline.
Yeah, for sure.
Of the particular Canadian spin, because I'm very conscious of
so the book is called, yeah, the story, it's called Children Tell Stories.
Oh.
And it's by Martha Hamilton and Mitch Weiss.
I think I've got that book actually. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've either got it or I've read it.
Hamilton.
So I just put the title in the chat for you, Linda.
Cool.
Yeah,
But it
no,
has like handouts for the kids. It has things that are very useful. It's an older book, but it's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh yes. Wow.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
But that I only see the grade 5s once a week, so that took us several months to go through that. But yeah, if you want to meet at another time, I can share with you sort of what I did exactly in that unit, because it was really fun. We had a good time.
Fantastic. Thank you. I
Yeah, no,
appreciate
that's very, I have read that book. It's very accessible and very practical.
Yeah, and what I did was many folk tales and fairy tales are in the public domain. So what I did was I just searched as many as I could find from different cultures, and I put them in a Google Drive for the kids, and then they could read. So ordinarily, if we were not online, what I have is I have the stories laminated on like a laminated piece of paper, and then they just read as many as they can until they find one they like that they want to start performing. But online, what I did was I put them in a Google Drive so that they could just access all the stories. And then they had to log 15 stories in order to choose the one that they wanted to perform.
Wow.
Mm.
So these are grade 5s, primary, elementary school, or?
Grade 5 is about 10.
Okay, yeah. So like we call the primary.
But as I said, if you had, like, instead of having folk tales, which is what I did with the grade 5s, if you had grade 10, 11 students, you could do short stories. I mean, it doesn't have to be, the skills are applicable to any stories. They could be doing, Edgar Allan Poe scenes. It could be anything. It doesn't have to, the skills apply to any number of literary material.
Yeah. And, you can also use storytelling whoosh with stories really easily, where you read out the story and then people step in and become characters, but you can play that online as well.
Well, there's so much more that I could have done with it if we'd been in person, but online it was limited.
And
well, I think that there's certainly, I think in Canada, we have popped up virtual schools now due to COVID, where students don't go back to school. They're part of a virtual school. They'll never go back to the bricks and mortar.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And I think that some of those schools will exist after the fact, because it's a good environment for kids that just have real problems being in social settings and so on and so forth. So I think that there's always moving forward, I think there's always going to be an element of online.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just being able to offer this to teachers, because the program that I'm part of, we go in and we do 4 visits with the class, and they range from 50 to 110 minutes. And then the idea is you leave your lesson plans behind, so that if the teacher wants to continue with the unit and use your lesson plans for subsequent lessons, subsequent years, then they have your stuff.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
No, the other one.
Yeah,
sorry.
the other question, the other issue you mentioned.
The other thing, Linda, that I did with my grade 8s was this murder mystery that they really loved. And it actually, we actually ended up taking 3 classes because they were having so much fun that I just let them run with it. So the first lesson, we talked about improvisation and how to apply the concept of yes and to build on other people's stories. And then what I had them do was I gave them a character description, and then I had them fill out a backstory for their character. So why do you think the detectives are going to suspect you? Where were you at the time of the crime? What would motivate you to kill this person? And then and so they had to write this whole backstory. So I gave them like half an hour to do that, and they had to come back the next day in costume. So they arrived into the meeting in costume, and oh my, they were hysterical. They were,
I love that.
one guy was the gardener, and he came with this huge gardening hat of his mother's, and he had these gloves, and he was just like, he was so funny. Oh, he cracked me up. And so we really focused on developing their personality of their character. And then the detectives, while the other people were developing their characters, I gave them the names of the suspects. So I said, you have a hairstylist, you have a doctor, you have a nurse, but I didn't tell them anything about the characters. And so I said, okay, if you're going to interrogate the nurse, what kind of questions are you going to ask her? Well, what medications were you giving her? Are you careful about giving her medications? And like those kinds of questions. So I had 22 kids, 18 were suspects and 4 were detectives. So the 4 detectives had to work as a team. So they split up the suspects and interrogated them. But it was hysterical because I gave the other characters permission to jump in at any time they wanted.
Oh.
So, you know, some of the more gregarious students, well, how dare you say that about me? I had so the chauffeur was 20 years younger than the victim, but he was her love interest. So, you know, he was her, and so he was quite funny. Anyway, it was a good time. We had a good time. So that was three 45-minute periods that we used to do that. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that was great. Does anybody have anything to say about the thing about being a freelance person who's trying to make contact with schools? Josie?
Yeah, I have the same problem, Linda, and I'm desperately trying to get my website up, and David was helping me the other day, and it's like a never-ending task, basically. I'm also going to make some leaflets and try and send those to people I know, and I'm making lists of people I know and trying to contact them, see if they want a workshop for the summer, because I'm trying to do workshops in the summer. I do actually have a job starting in September, but I need to make some more money. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky situation. I would really value people's ideas as well. Maybe we can chat about this or post in our Facebook group if anybody has an idea. And then we can just,
if you think of anything, if you think of anything today, like I would welcome that, right? Because I think this is ongoing for all of us in terms of what can we do and how can we support students and educators if we aren't.
I think it is ongoing, and it's something you just have to keep doing. And you know, I know a lot of freelancers, and the most successful ones are the ones who never stop publicizing themselves, or they've got a way of, they've got a good website or something out there. But having said that, other people don't publicize so much, but they get word of mouth. You know?
Candy does that. She gets
and it's like Josie, when you were talking just then, you were talking about people that you know, making contact with them, and that, that is a place to start. Really, is who do you know that you can call in a favor, or you can talk to and find out what they want, what they would really value to come into their school.
I do what's there in our high schools. There's what's called special high skills majors, and so students take extra credit courses, and then they have this designation to go to college and university. And so I was working locally with the coordinator, and she said, like, I wish I could hire you for more of these workshops because students are really engaged in them. And she said, what can I do for you? And I said, well, anybody else? Like, other coordinators, other facilitators. And so now I'm doing work probably in 6 of the other boards of education in my province.
That's really good. Yeah. You have to, contacts are really important, aren't they? Yeah.
And also, not only the contacts of people who might give you work, but for example, Josie and Jan are working together, and it's making contact with other people who are, because as a freelancer, you are ultimately on your own the whole flipping time. So if there is, if there are ways, for example, for a couple of years, I was working with about 5 other drama workers, and we all put together a program to go into schools. It was when London had the Olympic Games, and each of us wrote a drama lesson based on the Olympic Games for a different year group. And then we had somebody who was generous enough to act as the booker for us, and she did lots of advertising through her website, and then she would book in a day where any of the team could go into a school, and they had 6 drama lessons up their sleeve, and they could the school would book them in for a whole day, and they'd work with the different classes on that theme of the Olympics. And then at the end of the day, there would be a joint presentation with all the classes showing something that they'd done during the day.
That's great.
That's brilliant.
It was really knackering to do, because you were going into a school you didn't know and working with every single year group. But when it worked, it was really good. And what was great about it was getting the, as we do here, getting the ideas from other people and bouncing ideas off colleagues.
Well, you have to, don't you? I mean, you know, nothing is really original. So, I mean, you know, you make it your own, don't you? You make things your own, but nothing is really, really totally original. So you can't claim things to be totally original.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think, no idea is original, but it's the way that you do it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this is it. You're you, I'm me, Sarah, Jan is Jan, Linda's Linda, Ola's Ola.
Yeah.
And I don't teach like Ola, and Ola doesn't teach like me. So,
Ola, you teach in a school, don't you?
Just on music, yeah. So I teach in a school. So at the moment, I've been doing sort of drama for writing. So I've been quite small groups, so working with kids who need a bit of help with their English. But from September, I'm going to be doing years 1 to 6 drama.
Oh,
so,
lovely.
So, but yeah, I'm in a school, so it's not the freelance. But at the same token, there's just me. So in terms of planning and skills progression and all that, it's just me.
Yeah.
There's no bounce the ideas off.
No, again, I suppose also drama teachers therefore are in the same position where they're all working on their own usually. You know, you don't often have, you sometimes might get 2 drama teachers in a department, but quite often it's the responsibility that gets loaded off onto one person who's then got to make up a whole scheme for all those different year groups. That's quite a big ask.
Well, this is the thing that's happening to me now, is that I replaced the drama teacher this year while she was on maternity leave, and now she's coming back. I don't want to give it back to her.
Oh, no. But
so my principal has asked me to keep 2 sections, so I'm going to continue with grade 4 and 5. But I'm sad because the 7s and 8s were the more exciting, challenging things. So I'll miss teaching them. It was fun.
But maybe you can.
Are there ways in which you can use drama in your other teaching as well?
Oh, definitely. And you know, the game that Josie taught us last time, I'm already in the process of translating it into French. Because for I teach a grade 7 and 8 beginner French course, and this is a perfect game for them to learn French vocabulary. So I'll share it with you once I've translated it.
Oh yeah.
But I'm really excited to do that with them next year.
That's brilliant.
Remind me which game that was last time, Josie.
Drama Glom.
The Drama Glom with the different emotions and states.
Yeah, that was So there's a few thoughts for you there, Linda. Hopefully
I
that
appreciate
helps a bit.
it so much. Yes,
And
it helps
let's
a lot. Thank you.
keep the ideas swapping on the Facebook page as well. Post anything up there that you find useful. Okay, so we've zoomed through the time quite quickly. Sarah, you on the Facebook page, you were saying you wanted ideas about improv.
Well,
But I heard, and
so
my
as I
first thought was to play that game called saying yes or yes and.
yeah.
You know, that is the fundamental principle of improv. Does everybody know that game?
Well, I don't know if you're if this is a Canadian thing, but in French Canadian culture, there's like we play it in hockey jerseys, but it's like an improv like game. So you have two teams which are in different colored hockey jerseys, and you're actually in a fake like hockey arena, and then but I don't know how the game is played. I've seen it played, but I don't know. So I think they're given like a scene. Like I think so there's a referee who I think gives them like a sentence on a piece of paper or something, and then one team starts a scene, and then the other team gets tagged in and they continue the scene, and then it goes back and forth between the two teams, and then the audience votes on which team did it the best. I think that's what my students want to play, but I don't know how to play it.
There's this guy who wrote this book called Keith Johnston.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've read that name before.
Yeah, he moved to Calgary and set up the Loose Moose Theatre Company. And they do a lot of what you've talked about, which they call theatre sports.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So that's probably what you're talking about. He's got another book out as well, which I've got somewhere, or I think I have, which is all about theatre sports. So he's definitely, if you're interested, I would look up his book, because he writes really clearly and it's kind of fun, and he will describe how to play the game and then what kind of responses you will likely get from people. So he kind of takes you through the whole scenario.
I don't have my book in this room with me, and I'm not sure if it's written by him as well, but there's also a book called Improv for Storytellers.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one I meant.
Improv.
Yeah, improv for storytellers. I'll look it up for you.
No, because I'm coming from drama really as an English teacher. That's my training, and so this is sort of outside my comfort zone.
I've got. I mean, David knows these two, but there's two improv games. We were talking about it in another group called Drama. You introduced me to this group, David. Drama teachers and those interested in drama education. And we were talking about two improvisations, and they're brilliant. They're both really brilliant. One is called Park Bench, and the other is called Bus Stop. And
sorry, what was the second one?
Bus Stop.
Bus Stop.
Bus Stop. Okay.
Yeah, and what I usually do is I give the kids a prop, like a newspaper, for instance, and I put 3 chairs for the park bench thing. Put 3 chairs there. And I get one guy, one person, one lady, one girl to sit down with the newspaper, and I give them a status as well. I shove a little paper into their lap saying your high status, low status, whatever, you know. So, or I give them a card, you know, Queen, King, 7, 8, whatever, something like that. We usually do a status game before anyway. But anyway, so I tell them what status they are, or I get them to choose what status they are. They sit there with their newspaper, and somebody else comes along and wants to eat their sandwich, and they try and get the best seat on the bench. If they are high status. If they're low status, of course they won't. They'll have to sit right at the edge and sort of eat their little sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point you've mentioned there. Just to butt in, if you'll excuse me doing that. But, you know, I think the two, when I was sort of starting out in theatre myself, I worked with a guy called John Oram, who had worked with people like Keith Johnston, and he was one of the sort of early, you know, people who are working in that field. And we did a lot of improv, or impro as we called it in those days. And I think as well as the yes and, it's the status games.
Yes.
So it's all, there's lots of games around master and servant.
Yes.
And if you look into that book that Linda mentioned, the Improv for Storytellers, there's lots of scenarios showing you how that game can be played.
Yes.
But one thing that I often do as an introduction to status is to get people into pairs and get one person to be high status and one person to be low, just making a freeze frame. You know, usually you'll get the high status person will be doing something like that, and the low status will be doing something like this, you know. They make it quite obvious. But sometimes you get pairs and one's going like this and the other one's going, and you don't know, you know, you can't tell who's high and who's low. But what's interesting about that is that you just get the class to try and guess who's high and who's low. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it could be either.
Yeah.
And that can take you on to conversation about the fact that status is always changing.
Yes. Yes. And
There's no
talking about
such thing as permanent high and low status. You know, somebody gives someone a present, they might be high status, and then the other person gives them some bad news, you know, they might suddenly become the high status person in the scene. So that's, you know, that, I mean, that's something for a whole separate session in a way. But do you do that, Sarah? Do you work on status?
Well, I did it with my grade 8s when we did the Commedia dell'arte. So we looked at the different characters and we were practicing sort of physical theater. So using our bodies to express emotions rather than lines. So I did it a little bit when we compared sort of the different characters and their status within the Commedia dell'arte scenes. But I am by no means an expert, so it was light.
There's a good game in my 101 Drama Games book called Pecking Order. And what you do is the ideal way to play it is in groups of 3. And you give the groups a situation and 2 of them have to decide what status they are. They can be either number 1, number 2, or number 3, with number 1 being the highest. And then they start the improvisation. The third person comes in and has to improvise with them, but try and guess what their status is. So, for example, it could be a doctor and a nurse in a surgery, and a patient comes in, and the doctor is in fact status number 3, the nurse is status number 1, and they've decided that the patient is number 2. So the patient comes in and says, "Oh, hello, doctor. I've got this problem." And the nurse says, "Oh, yes, well, I'm sure the doctor will be able to help you with that. Could you tell me a bit more so that we can sort it out for you?" You know, so she tries to take over. And then the patient has to try and work out and says, "Oh, yes, that will be really helpful." And they're trying to place themselves in the hierarchy to work out if they're more important than the nurse. And once you start playing around with the traditional roles and break those traditional stereotypes, it gets really interesting. So the patient could come in and be the number 1, but doesn't know it. The nurse is number 2 and the doctor is number 3. And so, you know, the patient comes in and says, "Oh, doctor, I've got this problem." The doctor says, "Oh, please, you know, take a seat. If that's all right, nurse, will that be all right if she sits down there?" You know.
So do all the characters except one know who the other, or nobody knows who anyone else's status is?
So if it's in a group of 3, 2 of them secretly decide what their status is. Yeah. So I think the best way to do this with a class would be to demonstrate it first of all. So just take 3 people and give them a situation, and you could tell them what the statuses were. So you could tell the 2 people what the status was, and you could make it fairly obvious for the first time. And then the third person, choose somebody who's quite good at drama, who can come in then and try and work out, you know, what their status is. And it works in really like traditional situations, like a bus stop, a waiting room, a job interview, in a shop, you know, just really, it can be really boring situations because the interest is in the relationship between the players. Linda.
I think it would be really fun too for the character development is once you kind of role played it that way, then switch the status.
Yeah.
And let number 3 be number 1 and
Yeah.
have them experience that shift in dynamic. That can be a lot of fun too, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to paste the description of the game into the chat so that you've got it.
I was going to actually suggest something else as well, something to do with this. Another status game we played a long time ago before I became a teacher was it was called Shoe Shine. And you have the master and the servant obviously shining the shoes of the master, but getting fed up at some point. And so he'd refused to shine the shoes anymore. And you'd slowly get this shift of status. And if you're trying to explain this to kids, this is a really good way of doing it because it is so clear what happens, you know. The servant becomes the master, basically. And yeah, so that's another, yeah, exactly, evolution. Revolution, yes.
Revolution, okay.
Yes, revolution. That's
yeah, I think, you know, I think you need the building blocks. So you need the, you know, and the word block is also really important if you haven't come across that. So first of all, you're getting people to say yes to each other's offers and to each other's suggestions. So if somebody comes in to the impro and says, oh, it's a lovely day, isn't it? And the other one says, no, it's not, it's horrible. Look at the rain. And then the first one says, oh, but the sun is shining. And the second one goes, let's put our umbrellas up or something, you know, and it's like, they're just not agreeing with the idea. But as soon as somebody else says, oh yeah, it's a lovely day, should we go to the beach? You know, then you're off and you can do something. So when somebody says no with an idea, you call that blocking. So they're literally blocking the action moving forwards.
Yeah.
So teach them saying yes. And you can do that literally. So the first exercise you do with them is saying yes. So I'm going to play that with Jan. Okay, yes. Jan. So all I want you to do is to say yes, all right, to everything that I say. Don't worry, it won't be compromising. Okay, Jan, it's great to see you.
Yes.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yes.
Should we have some fun today?
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we go to the cinema?
Yes, sure.
Okay. So yeah, you're tempted to add something else in there to make it more interesting, but and it's quite hard. It's quite a challenge just to say yes. But it also shows you, you know, how things can build. And then you can repeat that exercise, which I'll do with Linda, if that's all right. I just want you to say no to everything. Linda, it's a lovely day today, isn't it?
Nope.
Are you feeling unhappy?
No.
Could I do anything for you?
No.
Okay, so you get the idea. I mean, it can get quite interesting, but what people sometimes do is they try and change it. So they're going, no, you know, like, for example, we said, isn't it a lovely day? No. Are you not feeling very well? No. They might say, oh yeah, you know, they might try and say yes. So it's like, it's really interesting to just take two people and watch what happens and then point things out as they do, and then give them a chance to play it. And then as Sarah was saying earlier on, you move on to yes and. So this time, you know, when the first person says, oh, it's a lovely day today, isn't it? Yes, and let's go to the beach. Oh, yes, and when we get there, we could buy ice creams. Yes, and we could do lots of swimming and have lots of fun, you know. So each person does what we call building on an idea. So you have the initial idea, you build on that idea. Yeah, Linda.
And I think the interpretation of the energy is so important for students to see too. Like when you and Jan were talking, you're like enthused, and I'm somebody's willing to go, and somebody's going to, and the energy was just like, and
Yeah.
when you and I were talking, it's like, now what?
Yeah.
And the energy just went.
Yeah.
And the other thing is when you're doing it with older students and with adults, you can start to talk about how much like life it is, because there are some people in life who are yes people, who say yeah, and others, oh no, no, I don't think that'll work. You know the types.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, David, one question. So for this game, is there only 2 students, or can we make the students stand in a circle to take turns? So
Yeah,
each of them
do that.
have the chance to, like if we do yes and, so each of them will get the chance to give one statement or something.
That is such a perfect development of the game. That's great because it involves everybody then. So
Okay.
it's almost like you're building a story as it goes around the circle then.
Yeah.
And you can use it as, it's a bit like a story building exercise, because you could start off with, once upon a time, there was a happy wizard. And the next person says, yes, and the happy wizard wanted to make a magic spell to become invisible. And the next one says, yes, and he collected some frogs and some fish and put them in a pot. Yeah. So you could develop a story in the same kind of way.
Okay, thank you.
Right. We're coming to, we've gone past the point of no return, which is but we've had, Nikki's got to go. So
Bye,
thanks for
Ola.
coming, Ola, and see you next time. Right. Okay. It's been good. Look, I like the
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
to and fro of ideas today. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, David.
But don't wait for a month to pass, you know, do post things and we can keep the conversation going. And if you want, if there's anything that comes up that you want to think about in the next meeting, then it saves me planning anything, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oops, I gave the game away there.
So will we be doing Jenny's thing with her next time?
I think yes, because I completely forgot, didn't I, to talk about it. So Jenny, if you're watching this recording,
We're counting on you.
I'm just going to tell you what she told me so that we could think about it for next time. She is starting a new project working on with young people who have a particular syndrome, which she has as well, which is called Kabuki syndrome. And I didn't know anything about it. It's quite rare. But the point that she's making about it is that the workshop participants can only use their keyboard as their communication device.
Oh my word.
So perhaps it means that they're not able to speak. So she was looking for, I mean, she'll tell us more about that next time, but she wondered if anybody had experience of working in that way. She's just starting that project.
Not in a really long time. I did a writer's workshop many years ago where one of the participants had synthetic voice and synthesizer voice. So I'll put my thinking cap back on and remember what we did.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly. So I think we need Jenny to tell us about that, really.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
Great. Okay then, everybody. Thanks for coming along. And It's been fun, actually. Yesterday, I had a 3-hour meeting with some Greek teachers, and 3 hours on Zoom is quite grueling, but an
Yeah.
hour is quite kind of freshening, really. Quite
Yeah.
refreshing.
Yeah.
I'm starting a 4-day training with Partners for Youth Empowerment in their creative facilitation program this afternoon from 12 till 3:30, and I'm thinking that's going to be a marathon too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what I've discovered is it's good if you can basically get them to go off and do things, you know, rather than you try and deliver the whole time, because actually people like to be with each other and, you know,
Mhm.
to secretly work things out and then come back and show them, that kind of thing.
I think that was, you have to do that, don't you? I mean, you have to do it in a lesson as well. You can't just be there 100% of the time. It's just impossible.
Yeah. And the other thing that's quite nice that I discovered with that particular group is often when they went off to practice things, they also found things in the house to use as props and costumes.
Okay, yes.
So I think that's something, you know, you could, if you give them that task, it makes it interesting for them, and it means that they get up from the computer,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
you know, and it makes it funnier when they all come back. Rightio then. Have a nice day for those who have got a day in front of them, and have a nice sleep for the other.
My oldest daughter has her first job interview, so I have to go and help her get ready for that now.
Oh, good luck to her.
I'm sure she'll do that.
She's just finishing 9th grade,
Oh,
so
Yeah.
she's 15. Yeah.
okay.
What's the job interview for?
For a camp counselor for a children's camp. Yeah.
Right.
Really?
Very typical summer job.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a hell of a job to start with as well. Isn't it?
Well, she's a lifeguard, so she's looking forward to applying those skills as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Bye, everyone. It was really nice to see you.
Bye. See you Friday.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Just send you a message.